if you're anything like I was, you've got a pedal board full of mismatched patch cables that are a little spotty from gig to another. You're always hunting for one that's going bad. They don't fit. You can't squeeze enough pedals on your pedal board. That's how I was until I discovered Tour Gear Design's patch cables. They're the smallest patch cables in the game. They're rock solid, extremely dependable, and I love what they make. And now I've partnered with Tour Gear Designs to get you 10% off your order by using the affiliate code down below in the description box. You can get 10% off using code 40WATT, 40WATT, but this deal gets even better. For my Patreon supporters, you actually are eligible for 20% off. You have to register with the same email address you use on Patreon and message the company, say you're one of my Patreon supporters, and you can get 20% off your order with Tour Gear Designs, the best patch cables in the game. This podcast is made possible in part through a partnership with TrueFire. TrueFire is the most comprehensive guitar learning experience on the internet, with over 51,000 guitar lessons from the best educators in the world. It makes TrueFire the #1 most trusted music education resource for guitar players. We as guitar players sometimes get fixated on the gear that we play, and we neglect the skill level that we play. And many of us have a hard time finding instructors locally. TrueFire bridges that gap. You can find my affiliate link below to get 40% off with my code 40WATT of your first purchase through TrueFire. Learn, practice, play, TrueFire. This podcast is made possible by the support of many wonderful people over on Patreon. If you would like to support this show and help make sure it keeps going, you can go over to patreon.com/40wattpodcast, where for as little as $3 a month, you can help make sure this show keeps happening. Thank you for all of your support. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 40 Watt Podcast. My name is Philip. I am your host. I'm super excited to have you on the, if all things go out as scheduled, the penultimate episode of season 3. That means next to last for those of you that are not pedantic nerds like I am. So this episode, then one more episode, then we're going to chop it off. We're done. 2023 in the books. Then we're going to move forward and look towards next season. I'm already starting to line up guests for next season. So if you know someone you want to have on the show, let me know and let me try to make some things happen. But speaking of making things happen, I need to thank a few people that helped make this show happen. All of my Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/40wattpodcast. They are in a particular order. It's fine. I almost said no particular order, but I want to thank you all by name for as long as I can. Mike Litton, Martin Cliff, Benjamin Rodway, Jamie Evans, Henry Klubakowski, Brian May, but not that Brian May, Heinrich Nordvang and Nordvang Custom Pedals, Tony DeGraw, Steve Rao of the 60 Cycle Hum podcast, Julie McFarlane of Labland Music. I've been saying photography, but it's also Labland Music. Abe Matthews, Duncan Watson, Andy Johns, Dave Evangelista of the Guitar Dads podcast, Blake Jefferson, Nick Call, Andrew Hensley, Alan Gresham, Dan Pilver of Lewitt Audio, Scott Hamilton of the Effects Loop podcast, and also the guest for this week's episode, as you've already seen in the description. I'm not hiding anything here. Giacomo Ride, Andy Koenig, Jim Burns, Tom Kelly, Heath Batt, Ben Fair, Rick Calhoun of Honey Picks, also Ben Fair of Electromotive Sound Company, Jeffrey Walks, and Kyle Harris. Thank you all for your support and for helping make this show happen. You see how long that took? I'm going to have to find something for season 4, y'all. That takes a while. I need another way to recognize y'all, but I want to continue to recognize the help y'all have given, especially those of you who've been with me since season 1. That's a huge deal to me, and I'm really thankful of that. Probably talking about this because we are recording this the week after Thanksgiving. In the meantime, let's get on with the show. Moving on, Scott, how you been?
I've been good. You were just making that comment about, people requesting guests you want to have on. Clearly, people keep requesting me to keep coming back on this show.
Man. Well, it's one of those things where I like to have someone that's recurring, because then we can have totally different conversations, especially when it comes to, it's fun to have builders. It's fun to have, more pro level musicians, but then it's also really fun to talk to other people who just weekend warriors. We do this for fun, whether in church or bar bands or cover bands, and we're not making a living at it. We just really enjoy playing, whether it's cover bands or 4 songs on a Sunday morning. it's a totally different conversation when you can talk to someone that's really, you know, doing it as I don't, I want to say like advanced hobbyist. I don't know that I have a good term for it, but essentially advanced hobbyist.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between a church gig and a cover gig? Other than that, you have new songs every week, which cover gigs, I don't know how often
Yeah,
they change
they
up their
could.
playlists or not, but yeah,
There's not a huge difference. And if you're in the right churches, you know, they even serve alcohol. So, uh,
not
that's
mine,
controversial.
unfortunately.
Someone's
Well,
yeah, no,
at
no,
least on
it's fine.
Sunday, we we find other times to have it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's also, you know, it's a really long gig for cover bands. The 3 and 4 hour gigs, I've talked about it in the past. I'm tired of them. I keep doing them. I do keep doing them. Been singing
yeah,
them. The voice has been back. Feeling a lot stronger. So I've been playing those 3 and 4 hour shows again, and so
you're singing
it's been a
through the
thing.
whole 3 hour gig, or you're getting some support on that?
No, no, no. It's me for 3 to 4 hours.
That is grueling, man.
Oh,
Wow,
it's awful. Oh, it's awful. It is
wow.
absolutely brutal. It's why a lot of keys get dropped, and you know, I can't sing things in the keys that some songs I just can't sing them in that key, but other songs I can't sing in that original key and do the other 3 hours and 40 minutes of this show.
You're like, you get this one song and I'm done.
Yeah,
If you want me to
man,
do an
there are
original key,
songs. I do have songs like that where I'm like, all right, this song can only be in the last set because once I do this, the pipes are gone. Like I'm spent.
you know who actually does a really good job of that?
Who's that?
Taylor Swift is not right at the top of her range, which is why she's able to do 3 hour sets.
And not only that, she doesn't do meet and greets nights of concerts
Mm-hmm.
or after concerts after she's worn her voice out. It's actually
Remember
really
when
fun.
you and I met Joey Landreth when he was talking about that.
Hmm.
Same
He
thing. He was
did. He
like, no
said,
more meet and greets. It's helping my voice a ton.
yeah, that's what he said. He said, you know, I asked him how his voice was holding up because I know how grueling these nights can be, and I know they're, you know, harmonies and there's a lot of singing for some long shows, and he was talking about how it's better because he's being very conscious about, hey, I can't go out and talk to a bunch of people after the show if I'm going to have to turn around and sing again for an hour and a half, 2 hours tomorrow, and then do it again the next day. Those kinds of things. You have to be really conscious of it.
Oh yeah.
Talking is the bigger offender on destroying my voice and what I've done to my voice. It's talking over loud music in bars, but it's definitely done some really awful things to my voice and that I've had to recover from.
I just drink way too much coffee and don't sleep enough. That's destroying my
Coffee is
voice
another
enough
one.
as it is.
Yeah, coffee is another one for sure. Uh, Not getting just enough water. You can drink the coffee, but you need to counter it. And if
Yeah.
you are a coffee drinker, I also in this is going to get. I am not a health professional, and I cannot give you health advice. But I'll tell you something that has helped me. Is that I have been doing slippery elm and black licorice extract
Hmm.
every day, twice a day. And that has done a really good job because that does a couple of things. It's got a natural, like, helping your vocal cord kind of thing because it's also in that herbal throat coat tea that everybody uses.
Hmm. That's what I got.
It's got those same things in it. It's got the same stuff in it. But another thing that it does, it actually calms stomach acid, so it reduces the effects of things like acid reflux or heartburn.
Hmm.
And so I think I also was having what they call silent acid reflux. I don't really know. I'm not a health professional. But essentially it's you have acid reflux when you sleep and you don't really notice it during the day. And so I've been doing that to sort of get my voice back on top of the allergies that I discovered at the early part of this year. So
Nice. Dude, I did not expect for us to get into remedies for
yeah,
saving
vocal
your voice.
remedies.
Yeah. Also, if you live near Starbucks, it's called a medicine ball. I think they have an actual official name. It used to be a hidden menu item.
Oh,
Fantastic. It's they boil their lemonade and steep the tea
yeah.
in it, and then it's like the jasmine mint tea and the peach tranquility together. And I had to do a video thing, and I had a sinus infection. I was like a week long sinus infection, if not longer. had no voice. I drank 2 of those before I had to go up and do this video interview, and like barely survived it. But like it's one of those kind of
Hmm.
remedies to get you through. Anytime I have a public speaking event, or I don't sing anymore. I like to make the joke that I play guitar well enough that I don't have to sing, but I'm
Yeah.
also not trying to do the one man band kind of thing. I'm able to kind of hide behind um, environments where we can find 4 or 5 singers, no problem. So I
Yeah.
get to hide behind that because I'd rather just play guitar. I relax playing guitar. I don't relax singing,
Yeah,
so
I
I don't
would
want to do
much
it.
rather be playing in a band where I just play guitar and maybe do background vocals or, harmony vocals.
Yeah, yeah. I think
That's
I'd
what I want
rather
to
do
do.
that.
Yeah, I'm now I write songs. I don't sing my songs for anybody. I'm trying to get over that and try to start recording some stuff. But and so maybe one day I will do that. But for like these cover gigs, I'd much rather just be a backup guitarist doing harmony vocals. So it's more fun to me that way. Um, I don't have the stress of being there's this whole thing when you sing in a cover band and I don't want to use the term front man or front person or whatever we want to call it because it's not it's a cover band, but you still have to turn on that entertainer switch
Hmm.
and you have to entertain people and keep people engaged, and it is freaking exhausting to just be
I
on.
Yeah. I goodness, I feel the same way. I like. I mean, even something like this sort of drains my social battery a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm the older I get, the more introverted I get, or the more I realize I need introvert recharge time. So
Yeah.
like the idea of being the all eyes on me, attention, try to go. It's easy for me at work, but that's because I get to stop at 5.
Right. There's a finish line.
Yeah, and if I'm hosting an event, I do these things called lunch and learns. I'm sure other industries have equivalents where it's like I'm an engineering consultant. I go in, I talk to architects or other potential clients about a topic as like a subject matter expert, and it counts for like continuing education credits and things like that. Uh, I will be on it for an hour and a half,
Hmm.
and I've told coworkers like when the minute we're in the cab on the way back from that, you'll see me just deflate, and then don't talk to me for about an hour
Yeah.
because I just can't. It's just like I'm done.
Yeah,
So
I had to give in the training, the stuff I do, uh, as like a side gig. Y'all have too many hustles. That's just the way it is. Um, but I do training, and I recently converted my 1 to 2 hour training that I've been giving the most to a 5 hour session, and I
oof.
gave it for the first time, and it was truly exhausting. It was truly exhausting. Being now in that environment, you get to plan in breaks and some separate time. I have to, or my brain just won't work that way,
Oh yeah.
especially for that long. But yeah, it's truly exhausting to just be on for 4 to 5 hours or 3 to 4 hours, any amount of
Yeah.
time. It wears you out because not only are you doing whatever it is you do, whether that be speaking or consulting or singing or playing guitar, you've also got to have those your like social antennas out. You're getting all this feedback, you're adjusting your performance or whatever you're doing to the feedback you're getting. You're putting out this is all while you're doing it. You're changing up based on the feedback you're getting, and you're seeing whether or not that's working. You're constantly adjusting until you find something that works, then you stick to that. That's the way it works. That's the way motivational speaking works. That's the way business speaking works. That's the way performing works. You're constantly in this
Hmm.
feedback loop of improving what you do. And that is what's truly exhausting. It's not doing that thing that you do because you love it. Playing guitar is not exhausting to me. It's everything else that goes with it.
It's preparing for it,
Yeah.
and then worrying that everything's going to work and all that. Worrying that
Yeah.
your
Oh,
your
then you got to
your
deal with the stress of
colleagues are going to actually.
money,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
bars paying you and sound men you've never met or sound people you've never met before, whether
Hmm.
they're going to be good or bad, or they're that person that's taking the 4 hour smoke break while you're playing kind of thing. It's it's that kind of all those factors go into wearing you out.
Oh yeah. I remember recently just being completely deflated. The church I play at, you got to get there at about 7:30.
Hmm.
We do a run through, a 9, a 10:30, and a 12 right now. So it's 3 services. It was a baptism week or whatever. So like,
Hmm.
there was like 40 baptisms that like,
Oh
yeah,
my
we get.
gosh.
So, we were doing 5, 6 songs per service. Um, so my hands are shot, right? Like I made sure I'm not playing one of my guitars with 11s on it because I will die through
Yeah.
this service. But one of the services I came back and listened to the live stream of it afterwards, just because like you want that feedback of like, am I blending well? Does my tone sound good? All that, and then
Right.
you're inaudible in the mix. It's like really
Hmm.
deflated, absolutely, absolutely deflated and demoralized. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about the like social antennas, I was kind of thinking to myself, and I mean, at some point we actually have to get on the real topic here, but
Oh, we will.
uh, side controversial statement. I wonder is part of that why people hate in-ear monitors so much? Because when I,
100% is part of why I hate them.
yeah, because you are pretty isolated, and like for me, I kind of enjoy it because it lets me hear just what I want to hear. I don't have to
Hmm.
hear the harmony singers at all. I don't have to hear really much of anything. I actually turn the singers down to the point where I just hear that where they are in the song. I don't actually want to hear how they're doing anymore. Um,
That tracks.
yeah, I just want clicking drums and bass and keys. It's most of what I
See,
want.
that kills all of the feel for me. All of the
Hmm.
like why I do it. I talked about it on a past episode. It's there's that. I think I was talking to Mark Turley about this, if I can remember straight who I was talking this about. But it's like there's that being on stage, like uh, guitarists call it in the zone. I mean, not sorry,
Flow state.
athletes call it in the zone. There's
Yeah.
there's another term that somebody else commented and mentioned to me, and they were absolutely right. It's like or they call it in the flow, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just growing, and I get there by having all of that feedback around me, and not to get like super metaphysical with it, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's like I feel like I can feel the sound around me,
Yeah.
and that influences the way I play, and I don't get that with the in-ear monitors.
Yeah. Flow state is a
Yeah.
psychological term. It actually gets thrown around. And it's actually key to happiness in a lot of careers and jobs is like, can you get in a flow state where you just grind away at it? And it's part of why like some chefs, like they hit that zone where they're just cranking away and loving it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of physical labor jobs where like you can just hit flow state and kind of just enjoy it. Um, because you're good at it when you're in those moments. And like I make comments about that. Like when I have a day where the phone doesn't stop ringing, so I'm always jumping gears, I'm miserable because I
Yeah.
don't hit flow.
Yeah.
Um,
And part of all of that is the feedback of not just people but the
mhm.
instruments and the stage, and it's like I when you hit it, it's absolutely intoxicating.
Yeah. I mean, there's something too as well. Um, there's flow state, and then there's riding the edge, right?
Okay.
Like there's an excitement of being on that edge where you're not flowing, you're fighting to stay there.
Yeah.
And I feel like guitar gives me that a lot, where it's like you still got to stay in control. It's not effortless. I mean, there's
Mm,
I guess that's kind of the Jack White ethos.
yeah.
I mean,
I get
I
that.
we always go back to that movie, the It Might Get Loud.
Yeah,
Is that what it's
man.
called?
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, where he talks about he's like, I want to fight the instrument. It needs to be a battle to get there. He doesn't hit flow. It's about the battle and the experience.
Yeah.
So,
Whereas I don't want to fight my guitar at all. Not anymore. I've gotten to that point in my life where I don't want to fight it. Cuz I can't, my hands can't do the things I did in my 20s. You know, I can't. So now
really?
it's become a little bit more about finesse, which means I play 11s and 10s now instead of 13s and 12s, those kinds of things.
Dang.
Uh, but, remember former SRV devotee here. So
Mm,
13s were par for the course. Everyone had to go through that 13s on a strat in E flat moment. But then when I read the interview where they interviewed uh, Stevie's tech, and he said, "Oh yeah, by the end though he was playing 11s because he was shredding his hands," and so it's like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." So I switched down. But yeah, I don't want to fight the instrument. I need it to. I don't need it to be like shredder kind of like barely touch it to play, but I like low medium action.
I mean, this is part of how many PRSs have you bought this year?
you chill out. Is trading for them count? Does
Yes, it
trading for
does.
them count? Okay,
It does.
let's get into our topic then. If you're gonna just
Is that a good
pull
segue
it and
for?
try to shop into it, it's fine. And for the record, I don't think all PRSs play absolutely as everybody talks that they do. I think they still take some work. But so we're at the end of the year. Everyone's going to do this. Everybody's going to do their take. In fact, I'm going to be on another podcast to talk about gear of the year with Joe Branton over at the Guitar Nerds. So we're going to do that later. We're not here to necessarily say, oh, these are the best releases of this year. Let's talk more about our gear journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about because we bought several things this year. We were talking before we started recording. You were like, oh, I only bought the and
I mean, it's like 6 things, but holy cow, did I buy some stuff this year?
yeah, they keep going, and
they're
I
nice
too
things.
bought way too much stuff and traded into some stuff, and it's a lot of different methods of getting into things, and just constantly rotating to have new things just to keep it fresh a little bit. But what is your favorite thing, or should we separate this? Because should we do guitar amp pedal kind of thing? Let's do that.
It's been the year of the amp for me, so I have a lot more to share in that area.
That's true.
I've honestly only
very
bought
true.
like 3 pedals this year,
Really?
which is crazy for me. Yeah, I used to be like a pedal every 2 weeks.
I bought 3 pedals in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, and that's a problem. It's a problem. But
And actually, the newest pedal I got is not even one I bought. I'm just it's on a loaner from somebody else. So they got one of mine. I got one of theirs. We'll trade back.
I got you.
But I do finally get to find out. Let's start with pedals. Why don't we start with the small stuff? Because like that's where.
Let's start with pedals.
Let's do the effects loop order, right?
yeah, that's it.
We'll do pedals, guitars, amps, right? That's the order of my show, so we'll stay that way.
I think both of us amps were the big one this year, so that's good.
Yeah. So this is the first one I'm playing with right now. I've got a Marshall Bluesbreaker reissue. This is my buddy Ian's. He's been on the Bluesbreaker train ever since frankly, he likes my tone, and I'm like, dude, it's a king of tone. Learn to love it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, so I actually sold him my Prince of Tone at face value as a favor, with a stipulation he's not allowed to sell it. He has to sell it back to me at the face value.
Right.
There's a no flip clause there. So it's that he's actually borrowing my Snouse Black Box right now, which is a Bluesbreaker with too many options, so you get option paralysis on it.
Yeah.
And then the other one I got was a Hungry Robot Carmine drive, or Carmine. What's it called? Carmine. So it's the delay, Carmine line delay, where it's a delay with an XY joystick, so you can do all the fun spaceship noises on it. Haven't gotten that on a pedal board. I mean, legitimately, I don't think I've pulled out my pedal board this year. I've just been playing the modeler as much as I can because it's just so easy, and I've just been so busy. That I don't want to fool around with stuff. I don't want to find my dead patch chords right now. But that's been my pedal journey. I think there's a Greer Lightspeed in there too, but it's been a pretty light pedal year for me.
I feel like for you, pedals, like your better way you should do things is have like, I've got one, it's in the other room, but like one of those like desktop stands to put some pedals on, and just put some pedals on that to plug into your amp or, into your live setup, and just play those that way.
That's my desk right next to my desk.
Yep, exactly. Just put them right there. That way you're not worrying about a giant pedal board you're digging out or trying to put things on.
I've done that for a year. I've actually done that for a year or two. I had one of those Sonic Cake back when they were like $35. The cheap power supply, somewhat isolated. Somewhat. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the quietest power supply ever, but for $35, it's very good. Yeah, so I just hook stuff up when I get it, try it out. Whether it's I leave my Kemper by my desk as a nice easy mode for silent practice. But since I've now done the 2 notes captor thing, I now have this amp stack that we'll get to.
We'll talk.
That's
about
getting completely out of hand. But yeah. That's my pedal journey. I mean, where have you gone this year with all this?
I've bought a few things this year. I'm trying to remember all the things that I bought this year, and I have a few things that were sent to me that I still need to do some videos on.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, so I don't know that I want to list all of them, but let me see if there's some standouts. There may be some standouts I can't actually pick up and
I
show
mean,
you, but
you've gone big board again, so like pedals for you
yeah,
has actually
and I
been a
kind
bigger
of
thing.
hate it. Kind of hate it. I let myself run away with the idea. Initially, all I wanted to do was build an angled. I love my Gator pedal board, but it's a flat pedal board,
Mm.
and so it's a little more. What do I need for this gig? Put it on the board. Let's go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I wanted to build something that was a little more here at the house where I could try some bigger chains, some other things. And so I looked for something I could just put the pedal board underneath, or I mean the power supply underneath,
Mm-hmm.
because all of my boards right now are flat boards or small boards. And then it was just like one thing led to another before it led to another. Before I knew what I was doing, I bought this giant alder and ash pedal board,
Oh.
and yeah, and an ES8 switcher again. Third time I bought one of these things. Uh, and then by the time I got around to soldering cables, I wanted to throw the thing out of the window.
Mm.
So it's together now. It's fine. I've still got a little bit of tinkering I need to do with it. I need to make a couple of more cables. I want the option to run it in stereo. Right now, I don't have it as running in stereo at all. And I need to. So I put my wah pedal on the board, but it's one of those where the top flips up, right? You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I put the wah on it, and it didn't occur to me that most boards that are meant to put a wah pedal on, they actually have a
A
cutout so the wah
notch.
pedal
Yeah.
sits on the bottom. And so one, it's flat. Two, it's much sturdier because there's no support on the board underneath the wah pedal. So when I go to try to engage it, it flexes the top of the board, and it's wood.
Are
It's gonna break.
are you a
So
Dunlop wall right now?
no, I'm using a Wilson Effects wah.
Okay. Does that have the toe click?
Yeah, it's toe
Oh.
click. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to take the wah off the board and put it off board, which is fine. But then I have this space, and I don't want to add more pedals to this thing. It's already too many pedals. So I don't
So
know.
I know
Existential
you
crisis with
play.
pedal board life.
I know you play in a genre where wah is a much more usable effect.
Yeah, I use
I
wah a
I don't.
lot.
I still have my wah pedal I bought in junior high, but honestly, a wah uses so little battery that
Yeah.
and it's only on when it's on.
Yep. Well, that's how I've always used it, is off board, because all my
Yeah,
boards that I had were too small to put it on. So I was like, oh great, I can put my wah on the board. Turns out no, Philip, you can't. You still got
and
issues.
and it's one of the kind of pedals that, frankly, those are built so tough. You're okay having it off the board.
Oh yeah, I put it off the board. I've got a spot in my gig backpack that I use that it just slides right in, and it's great.
Yeah,
So I got to fix that and fix the stereo thing.
and it's a pre-buffer pedal usually that you want anyway.
Oh well, yeah, it was never in the switcher, so it was still
Okay,
always first in line. Uh, but yeah,
okay.
it's neither here nor there. It just wanted the ease of setup. I wanted it always plugged in and not have
Mm.
to constantly remember that extra patch cable
Hmm.
to be able to plug it in.
Well, because
It's
otherwise,
fine.
if you are looking for a board that can take a wah really well and still has the space underneath it, I will remind everyone that Creation Music Company or Creation, yeah, it's music company, and they're no longer Creation pedal boards, is still liquidating their current line at 25% off, and they are
Oh,
fantastic boards. That Elevation series, they're modular on the
tiny
sides. You
things.
can do I/O on it, and I'm not saying that because John sponsored my podcast for a little while. Like, legitimately, this is my big board. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had a size that worked for my little board, I would actually be on that instead of the pedal train I'm on right now. Um,
Oh, and
they do
they do
flat boards
flat
too.
boards and bridges.
They do, and also they're very lightweight flat boards.
Yeah,
They're actually very applicable. Now he's liquidating this whole line, and
yeah,
I'm not allowed to talk about what he has coming. Um,
yeah.
but if you're looking to pay full price, uh, wait a little bit longer. His next generation has some really cool improvements on this line.
Okay.
Um, that like just a lot of them are aesthetic, but they're pretty cool aesthetic changes.
Yeah.
Um, but his boards are beautiful. You still get the hardwood sides on the Elevation series. I can't speak highly enough of John's work over there at Creation. Everything he does is he works hard at it.
Yeah. I'll have to check this out. I'll wait because obviously I don't need another pedal board right now. I hate the one I already have. So
You mean my old pedal board?
no, that one actually I did sell that one.
Oh, did
I
you?
remembered
Okay.
I did. Yeah. So that one's not around anymore. But it is just it's a thing. I every time I go to this big pedal board situation, I remember why I hate it,
You love
and
all
I
the options,
immediately
and then you have to move it, and you're like, oh, why did I do this?
have to move it, or I have to hunt a bad connection somewhere, or
Hmm.
just give me a Nano Plus with 4 pedals on it. That's what I want.
I mean, I'm running a Metro 24
Yeah, that's
with
my other
3
one. That's
pedals
my
on it.
that's my medium board. Well, it was the medium board until I
Wow.
got this big board. It's a
You know what's
Metro
funny is
24.
so my girlfriend picked up that board. So again,
Uh huh.
Metro 24, it has a quad Cortex, a wireless unit, a fuzz pedal, and 2 expression pedals.
Right.
Oh, and a generation loss. So like it has next to nothing on it, really. I mean, she's like, "Oh, it's so heavy. Oh my gosh, it's so heavy." And then I went into my closet. I'm like, "Have you seen my real pedal board?" And she's like, she couldn't lift it. It's 60
Yeah.
pounds. She couldn't lift it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's dumb. They're just when I had the Pro the first time I bought a pedal train Pro and I had it filled and I put it in its flight case because
Mhm.
I needed a flight case. Um, Actually, with a board that big, you probably do need a flight case because it's so heavy. If it flips over one time, you're smashing things because it's just so big and so heavy. But
So I do
uh,
the padded mono M80 series case.
yeah,
That is the minimum amount of padding I would use on a pedal board, and even that is
yeah,
still a I set this down situation.
yep. You don't
Yeah.
risk it. But
Nope.
it when in its flight case, that thing was heavier than my Super Reverb, and that's just brutal. I can't do it. So, all right. So pedals, my pedal situation. Maybe the what's the best pedal I bought this year? What is
Striding Big
actually
Sky.
on the pedal board that I bought that I actually use regularly? I'm trying to remember what I got this year. Um, Man, that's tough. I got a bunch of cool stuff this year. I am going to probably say it's the Pantheon Deluxe.
Really? I know Jake
Uh huh.
loves, I mean he's a big Wampler fan.
Yeah,
But he was talking so highly about that thing, and
dude. And don't get me wrong, I got some good stuff this year, like rebuilding the big board. I sold some things, and I bought the Chase Bliss automaton pedals, and I bought
mhm,
another Volante, and those are great. But I don't feel like I've had enough time with them to say that that was the best thing I bought this year.
mhm,
But this thing, and I'm still working on a video shooting this out against my King of Tone,
mhm.
and some people get mad at me, and some people will think I'm just I don't know. But I'm going to give everybody a sneak preview of the video I've been trying to film. If you want the King of Tone sound, but you don't want to buy one used and you need one tomorrow, go buy one of these. Just seriously, the Pantheon Deluxe gets you there.
Yep.
It it sounds great. It's got some extra flexibility, which did mean a little bit more of a learning curve to get the same sounds out of it. It's got the switches on the outside. Do you want MIDI control? It's got MIDI control.
Has
And
all the mods that you're asking for in
yeah,
the King
it's
of
got the
Tone
four
options.
four jack,
Mhm.
so you can use it in a switcher as 2 different pedals, and you can buy it tomorrow for the same price as a new King of Tone would cost you. But hey, the wait list is 5 years, and I say none of this to um,
It's only been 5
deride
years at this
Mike
point.
over at Analog Man because the King of Tone is still my favorite overdrive pedal of all time. Period. I love this pedal. And yes, a part of me liking this pedal more than the Pantheon Deluxe is a little bit of the difficulty to get them, the hype around them. I know that. It's in my head. I know that the sound I hear is in my head, but so is everything else I ever experience. So
Also,
if
just
you
just for the record, there's one on Reverb for 165 at the time of recording.
Oh my gosh. That's a no-brainer. That's an absolutely no-brainer. You can get the tones, or at least very close enough to the tones of the King of Tone for less than the cost of a new tube screamer. What's a new tube screamer? 170?
Probably.
I have no idea. I'm throwing numbers around like I know exactly what I'm talking
Depends
about.
who's making that tube screamer.
Well, I mean an actual Ibanez TS9.
Because you can
I
get
genuinely don't know what they
the
cost.
what's the cheapest mainstream tube screamer? Is it the 3 Series?
It's
The
got
JHS 3 Series one?
mainstream. No, I think because you got the EHX one, the green.
Yeah.
What do they call there?
That's not the East River one, is it?
It might be the East River Drive.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
$81 brand new.
Also, EHX just did a Bluesbreaker, didn't they? So if you really want to limp into something cheap, I haven't played it yet, but yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
when did
I'm
they
of the same
release
mindset
this?
as you are, where I'm like, look, if you're like dead set, your dream is having a real King of Tone, go get on the list
And then buy this until
and
then.
wait. Yeah, don't pay, and they'll probably be 300, 350, but probably Mike should raise prices on it at some point.
Yeah, well, he did during COVID, and it was the first time
Yeah.
I'd seen him raise the price in forever. But I think the current price, and y'all, I may be off. I think the current price is like 275 or 280, and then you add
Yeah,
in
it will be
if you want to do
350
the
by the
high
time you're
gain.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the high gain's only $10 per side, and that's
Yeah,
the
but
only mod I do. So
I do the
$300.
add the option switch on the outside.
I sort of wish I'd done that, but then I also realized that I'd use the same setting. I have two of them, and I use the same setting on them. I could very easily set them up differently.
And you could also very easily have somebody else mod it to do that.
Yeah.
But then there's that weird like sacrilege. It's like, oh no, it has to be done by Analog
Mike would
Man,
be
right?
the only person I could have mod it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It'd have to be Mike. So,
But
which I
having
could
said
do.
that, it's such a duplicated get yourself 95%, 95% of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
And wear the clone of shame for a little while and live
Which
with
isn't
yourself
fair to
and just do
Brian
it.
to call it a clone of shame because
No,
it's a
I think the
fantastic
Pantheon's
pedal.
the thing with Wampler is he doesn't do direct clones. He does the how
His
can I
version.
tweak it, make it better, that kind of thing. So
like I
there's
said,
a spin on it.
That one's got a presence knob that affects the whole circuit, and then it's got
Ooh, I
two
like
band
that.
EQ on each channel. So it's got bass and treble instead of just a tone knob on every channel.
That could be a lot to wrap your head around as a beginner, but at the same time,
It is.
just look up the default setting, like where does it sound like a King of Tone, and just go from there, or catch the Prince of Tone, because the reality is a lot of people use a King of Tone with only one side. The Prince of Tone is that. Just use it.
Yep.
And there's no shame in a
right.
Prince of Tone because it's a real analog pedal or analog band pedal.
Yeah, it's a great and it's great. I just people like to hate on things because there's a list, and it's like, well, it's just it is what it is.
I mean, I waited out that list the first time.
Mm-hmm. I've waited it out 3 times.
I'm currently waiting it out again right now.
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't think I want to flip it. I mean, it's tempting, but at the same time, I kind of want a backup because I love the pedal so much.
That's exactly why I have mine. I would have 3 if I hadn't a few years ago hit like a really hard financial time and just absolutely needed money. I think I was actually dealing with a truck issue at the time, and needed to pay for it. So, things happen. Luckily now, it's not a big deal. So, I'm on the list again. When that one comes up, I'll probably keep that one too, just because it's my favorite overdrive pedal, and I have this OCD that makes me want to hoard them.
Yeah.
So,
did you get on the Nauticlon list?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
dude, I don't love the Klon circuit enough to build anything for it.
Well, I know you talk about selling the JHS Klon from way back when. So
I did, man, and so I'm real glad I did now. Because I'm not sure.
Are they dropping in prices again? I haven't.
I don't know. I haven't looked.
I think if anything, it would shoot them back up. It's giving more
you think
hype.
It would take them back up,
Dude,
I don't know,
JHS
man.
stuff has so much hype now, and they're
It
good
does.
pedals. Don't hear me bashing JHS, but there's such he has so much influence now. It's ridiculous because he is the biggest social media influencer in guitar.
100%.
The only person that
He
maybe
is
can generate more hype is a John Mayer or a
I was just
um
going to say that John Mayer is the only person I know in the guitar space that has more sway.
and I want John Mayer to be going around with a Nauticlon. I really want him to.
Dude, that would be okay. Then I would feel real bad about having not ordered one. He sold 20,000 plus of them. 20,000.
A thousand is a very successful pedal.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
like wildly successful. 20,000. There's only 8,000 original clones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the right now, I dare someone to find the stats to challenge this. Right now, the most owned, maybe not together, maybe not, usable yet, maybe not even shipped, but the most owned clon pedal on the planet is the JHS Nauticlon. Tell me someone who has sold more than 20,000.
I wonder how much. Well, one, I wonder how many KTRs have been sold.
Oh man, I still don't think it's going to break 20,000.
Because there's more KTRs than clones out there at this point, by far.
And I doubt anyone
Um,
has that number.
are KTR still non-accessible? Is he still kind of keeping the market a little?
I don't see them for
Yep.
sale. I did see a used one the other day at my local guitar center.
Yeah. Allegedly, there's new ones out there.
Yeah,
Allegedly,
allegedly.
and everyone's just flipping them. They're not sitting
That's
in stores.
that's the thing. It's the King of Tone all over again. So,
Yeah.
but I think 20,000 does make the Nauticlon. Now, of course, they're not all out there yet. Josh put out a video. It's like, oh great, now I have to ship out 20,000. He didn't. I doubt. I'm not sure they thought that many would be bought.
Well,
But
the biggest part is they need to QC all those boards. That's the biggest effort
mhm. Yeah.
because they're surface mount, so they're being manufactured elsewhere probably.
Yep.
But also it's a great kitschy thing, and I was teasing somebody on it for like, oh, that's not really building a pedal. Come on. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if that gets you started, I
I could
great.
see this being like the perfect gateway pedal building drug for like the 15-year-old guitar player who's
Hmm.
never touched a soldering iron,
Hmm.
but like really likes the idea.
Yeah,
Get them
and
this. It's going to be a great Christmas present. Maybe get them into the idea of how things start to go together.
yeah, and then I'd love to see Aeon Effects is my preferred kit build. I really
Mm-hmm.
like his stuff. Met the guy personally. He's a really nice guy and really excited about the stuff. But he does, cloned pedal, full instruction manual, and there's some where it's a pre-drilled kit. So the enclosure, to me, drilling the enclosure is the easiest thing to screw up and not do well on a pedal kit.
Agreed.
Because soldering you can screw up and fix.
Mm-hmm.
Drilling you can't. And a lot of people will use a hand drill to drill their pedals. I've done that, and it doesn't go
Yep.
well.
You need a drill press.
You want a
You
drill press
absolutely
for
need a
clean
drill
stuff.
press.
And even the best of us still, like we were
Screw
talking
that
about
up.
Analog Man. Analog Man's stuff can be kind of scruffy sometimes.
Yeah.
It's very
With
handmade
the
still.
exception of the stuff that comes out of Japan is usually.
Yeah.
I think the only things that come out of Japan are the delay and the Prince of Tone. I think those are the only two things that come out of Japan. But
yeah. But anyway, I digress. Go buy a pedal kit after that. Go dive in. There's so many resources. I hope it inspires a lot of builders. I love that side of it. And the stupid goop here thing is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just not that big a Klon pedal player.
Yeah.
Like that circuit. It's fine. I've got the ones from Ben that I love, Electromotive Sound. Like, so I genuinely don't have a real desire for a different one. So I did have a real one, like a gold one, offered me in trade for something I was selling, and I decided to pass on that because the last thing I need is a pedal that I'm afraid for anyone to even look at.
Yeah, I mean that's part of why I've stopped using my pedal board. It's too unobtainium. It's too many unobtainium pedals.
Yeah.
I'm
It's also
defensive
just
of
too
it now.
big.
My back and shoulders really appreciate not carrying it around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Had to get it. All right. So pedal, that's probably my favorite one so far this year. Despite having gotten a bunch. Guitars, you've gotten a couple this year.
I found one.
Is it just one?
This was my year of not buying guitars. And then I was with you and I broke down and bought a guitar. I bought like a dream guitar that I didn't fully materialize where the dream was, but it was sort of there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let me sneak over here. We've probably told the story of this. It's probably been on the show or it's
Yep.
been on my show. But Philip was there when I bought this and was helping me kind of scratch an itch of curiosity of a certain model that I never really explored. And told me this is the one everyone hates, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But we've nicknamed it Marlboro, and
Yep.
it is a 1979, I
Yep.
believe.
I believe so.
We I forgot to check the serial number, but it's a 79 Gibson ES335 TD with the trapeze bridge, the Norlin headstock that everyone seems to hate for some reason. The
you got a
silver
volute.
tulip. Yep. It's got a volute. It's got a 3-piece maple neck.
I actually like the 3-piece maple necks.
I
To be honest,
love maple necks, so that was great for me. It has a coil split, allegedly.
which is weird. It is super weird because that switch threw me off when we were playing it. I was like, "What is this doing?"
Yeah, we thought it was aftermarket, and then we started looking it up. And so we also found that switch has existed on a few 70s era ones because there was a Nashville model
Yeah.
that actually had 3. It didn't have 4 knobs. It had 3 knobs.
Oh, interesting.
And we're toying with the idea. Do I put a Bigsby on it? Do I just leave it as is with this nice little trapeze bridge? I kind of think I might just leave it as is. I have enough Softail guitars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I
Definitely
love
needs
this,
probably clean up of the wiring and
yeah, I mean, I cleaned up the wiring. I think the switch just needs to be pulled and sanded. I think there's some rust
Okay.
on it.
Gotcha.
And the frets are on their last leg.
Yeah, that's the thing that you're going to do that's going to make it the best guitar you own is getting it refretted with the right. I say your preferred fret wire. Use the same fret wires from that one.
In
fact, just pull those. Just pull them right out of that guitar.
Yeah. Let's.
That's how fret wire works, right?
Let's destroy this one of a kind instrument that I had hand carved by Kevin Equitz. That I'm not messing with that guitar. Well,
yeah,
I'm messing with that guitar, but I'm not messing with that guitar. So yeah, that's the only guitar I bought. If you want to count basses, I also got I replaced my jazz bass with a Jaguar, the Troy Sanders signature edition. And to be honest with you, I haven't used it since because I've had no projects where I've needed a bass.
You gotta just pick it up and play every now and again. It's just all you gotta do.
Its strings are big and it hurts my fingers.
Get flats on it.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's the way to do it.
But that's all I've done on guitar side. You've done a lot on the guitar side.
I have. There's a whole bunch. And I'm trying to think what's my standout from this year because the easy answer is the 335. Because that is
that's right.
That was January. That's my Save It From a Burning Building guitar. And that's the easy answer. And I love that guitar. But if I had to actually say what I think is the coolest thing that I picked up this year, it was the Mule Mavis.
I think that's the most mojo. I would say your Cirrus S is a pretty fun one too.
It is a great guitar. It's a fun one. That's one that I'm not gonna lie. Part of wanting that was because they don't make them anymore, and I love the brand, and I wanted to make sure I had one, and that's a good one because it's a weird one because it's not pine, it's ash, and it's still super light. So I don't know. I had a just embarrassment of riches in the guitar category this year, and
Oh, and
still
I
I
mean, I've been there for some of those of like when you
yeah.
found them, and they're just fantastic. Like we found the Pelham Blue Junior.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
was a great find. I mean, did you get either any of your Grezes this year?
I got the
You got the baritone this year, didn't you?
no, I got the baritone last year.
Okay.
I got the Folsom this year, right there. There
Yeah.
we go. And that's a super rad guitar. I got that earlier in the year in like April, maybe March. I can't remember. Traded for that one. Um, yeah, just had a lot of great guitars, but I still think the coolest one, the just the absolute coolest one, is the Mule Mavis, which is also honestly, it's the hardest guitar to find a place for
Mm.
because it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of a resonator, it's a little bit of an electric guitar, it's a little bit of an acoustic guitar. It's very much its own thing, and it's like I pick it up, and my goal has been, where do I find me in this instrument? But
Hmm.
it's cool. It makes me want to pick it up, and I play it a lot. So something's going to come out of that eventually.
I think you should try to go solo with it.
I definitely think my acoustic gigs are going to start to feature it. Uh,
Yeah.
the question is, do I still take my resonator out at all, or do I tune it to a different tuning and have them in different tunings for slide, which is
Do you
probably the more
have
likely thing.
Do you have a busking drum set up where you can do a snare and
No,
and a
I
kick?
tried to do it. I don't quite have that coordination. Um,
Okay.
I spaz out a little bit. Uh, it's something I'd like to be able to do. I mean, I own a drum kit that I've not modified to make it work, but I would want something much smaller. I don't want to carry around a 22 by 18
Oh
bass
yeah, by
drum.
no means.
So it's one of those things that I'd like to do, but I haven't had the time to focus on what I would even turn that into. Like, I'm not going to go out there doing, you know, the covers that I do with the band
Mhm.
as acoustic because they don't translate the same, right?
I
Some of
mean,
them would,
you'd
a
have to
lot of
put a
them wouldn't.
vibe. You'd have to really give like a here's the sound of this guitar, and therefore I'm putting that sound on everything. And then
Yep.
it's your take on all the covers, which is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
But you
And I'll
know,
be
a lot of
honest,
times people want you to play the cover the way it was recorded.
oh yeah, see, if somebody comes to hear us play a cover the way it was done on the
Hmm.
record, I'm going to tell them they need to go home and listen to the record because that's not what they're going to get with us. Um, and honestly, a lot of things I blues up, like even like the rock and roll stuff, it's going to be a little bluesier than maybe you're used to listening to. But if I took the mule at the Mavis out, I'd already know if, and I did the whole like drum and everything, like one man band type thing, it would be my final digression into just pure like gritty acoustic blues. Because what I would do, I would take my the mule, I would take my super reverb, and I would take my harmonica mic that I have on a mic stand, and I'd plug that into the first channel of the super reverb, and that would be my PA, is singing and playing through a super reverb with a small bass drum.
Mm.
And I just go absolutely gritty Delta blues on it.
Yeah. Who? Oh, what's his name? Is it Rocco DeLuca?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember his name. He has this beautiful kind of bell tone kind of singing style. But he does a
Yeah,
Rocco
that's him.
DeLuca.
Yeah,
Um,
I
if
just
you
found
haven't
him.
checked out his stuff, Kiefer Sutherland was his manager for a little while.
What?
Yeah. And they did a documentary of like them trying to do their breakout tour while Kiefer was like managing them.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
but his album that I Trust You to Kill Me from 2006
Yeah.
is that kind of a sound. So you might want to check that out because that might fit your
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. I'm gonna check that out. I just pulled it up. So as soon as we're done here, that's what I'll listen to while I'm editing.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right. So now the big category. Let's go to this one. Because I think you bought as many amps this year as I did, which is wild.
I'm
Because
shocked by it
I
myself.
I'm notoriously an amp guy. I was just having this conversation in a totally different. It may have been in the Discord server, or it might have been in a Facebook chat. I can't remember. Listeners, by the way, there is a Discord server for this podcast. It's free. You can join it. Just you find the links down below. You can hop over in there. So what we were
And let's
talking
be clear,
about,
a lot of this is your doing.
I take no responsibility
Oh,
ever.
oh,
It's
please. Oh, please. We
look,
both
we may
know
or may not.
this silver box over here is like 90% your fault and
I'm
my
going to take
lack
it.
of inhibition.
I will absolutely take it. So, uh, look, there is it. We used to have a channel in the Discord that was just about posting good deals that we find. Like, oh, we find this thing that, hey, I know a bunch of y'all really like this. Here's a great deal on one in case somebody still wanted one, or maybe occasionally we post the stupid deal of the day if it was a really good one, or that kind of stuff. And eventually, I just had to change the name of the channel to Gear Pushers because that's all that is. It's a room full of
Mm-hmm.
people trying to motivate other people to buy things. So the brands, if you're listening, you need to join my Discord because the people are over there buying things. So anyway, I have a gear pusher tendency. I get it.
It's
Southerners
our
have this thing.
relationship with each other. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's long established.
Well,
This is what we do to each other.
well, also just Southerners in general. So like all good Southerners are great cooks and they're food pushers. They're gonna make sure you eat. That's just who we are. And I didn't inherit that. I don't care if you eat. Seriously, if you do or don't, that's fine. You need to buy the guitar. That's who I am. So just pure on gear pusher. So let's talk amps. What is you because you bought several? Feel free to list them if you want to, because it's not too many. It's not like if I tried to list all the pedals I bought this year. But
I mean, what did we come up with? It was 4 of them.
I think it was 4. I
Yeah,
think that's right.
I've bought 4 amps this year, which is
Yeah,
just baffling. Because bear in mind, I've maybe owned 4 amps before this year.
You know, I have a list, right? You know, I created a list of every amp I've ever owned. And I occasionally still have to go in there and add one that I forgot I ever owned. You want to take a stab at how many's on that list?
So I've owned 6 in my life up until this year.
Whew, you hit double digits, man. Way
I
to
saw.
go.
I bought my 10th amp this month.
Like a week ago.
11. Shoot, I forgot one. It's 11.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Oh, see, you hit double digits a while back.
uh,
Mine
Midsummer.
is my amp count lifetime is. Are we counting bass amps?
Sure.
Do we count? Okay, if we count bass amps, we're 60 plus.
I mean, if we
Now,
want to
here's
talk
the
Kemper
deal.
profiles, where I have like 10,000
Well,
Kemper
no,
profiles,
like
I'm like,
actual
okay.
physical amps. And it's not like I've ever had that. I have more amps right now, like at one time, than I've ever had in my life. It used to be I had 1 or 2 amps, period. Um, at a time, it's just I was constantly flipping because I was trying new things as a new player. I've never experienced this amp. I've never tried one of these, and I don't want to just go over to a friend's house and play it, or I don't want to just play it in the store. I want to actually gig it. I want to buy it and I want to try it and see if I really like it. So I went through a lot of stuff in the first 10, 12 years of my playing life. So that's why that amp count's so high. All right, so what'd you get this year?
So this year, it started with me getting a high gain itch and not really scratching it in a very satisfactory way as much as I hoped it would. But I got a PRS MT15, which does the fire breathing thing.
Yeah.
It can do cleans, but the thing actually with that is that amp made me realize the cab matters so much. And so we're both 2 Notes Captor X guys. And you know, there's a healthy library of stuff that comes in the Captor X, and then I've bought a few packs from 2 Notes over the years or over the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have some IRs here and there. I don't really like wading through a pack of IRs. I'll tell you, man, that is a miserable experience to me.
Yep.
And so
like
anything that packages all the IRs together, like the way 2 Notes does it. Fender did a really nice job packaging their IRs, actually, even though there's a flaw in the Tone Master stuff. We'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the Quad Cortex does it, I think. A lot of amp sims these days are the cab sim part is actually just IRs being blended together.
That's all it is.
So I have since gotten a better handle on it, but at the time I was just so overwhelmed by the speaker side of it because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually convinced that high gain amps all sound that different between each other, and I know someone just cringed hearing that, and they're like, he's kind of right, but he's out of line. Is probably what they're saying.
First of all, how dare you?
How dare you? I mean, you're right, but how dare you? But really, it's all about your cab. Your
Yeah.
cab has the biggest effect when you get to high gain, especially when you get to once you start cranking the power amp, the preamp stops mattering as much too. That's also
Yep.
one of those things I'm learning about this. Whereas when I've been edge of breakup combo amps my entire life, you just accept that that's the speaker, that's that part of that amp, and if you mess with it, it's just wrong. Um, Even though I was flirting with the idea of throwing a different speaker in my Hot Rod Deluxe back in the day, but
Oh yeah.
never had the guts to do it. Um, so anyway, that's what that amp taught me. And
Mm-hmm.
even though it's kind of sat dormant for a while, it got me going. And at $450, it was enough to kind of get that going for me.
Yeah.
And
At the same time you went through that high gain thing, I did the same thing, and I ended up with. That's how I got the Mesa.
yeah,
The same
and
time period.
I was seriously thinking of going to the Mesa because the Mesa would have a better clean channel for me.
Yeah.
Um, I know cabs better now, and I know how to mic a cab better now with the two notes. So I'm tempted to go back to the MT15 and try it out again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sat dormant right now, and it's kind of been supplanted by something we'll get to later. Um, then in I don't know April,
Yeah.
April, March, or something
It
like
was
that.
April. It was
Um,
after the Nashville trip.
our Nashville trip was in May, buddy.
Was it in May?
Mm-hmm. It's Memorial Day.
Dude. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing yesterday morning. I don't know why I
Okay.
expected that I would know what happened in May.
But yeah, back in at some point, I have a reverb search set up for broken. I have an electrical engineering degree. I got to pretend to use it once in a while. So I bought a broken Fender Champ.
Yep.
I believe that was also a 77 or 79.
I do not remember that.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I mean, the Silverface era, again, didn't have that much variance in it. Yeah, this was April 12th. It was right after my birthday.
Oh, look at
I bought a 70 Silverface Fender Champ, no vibrato circuit in it, slash tremolo circuit. It's just the straight up champ. It has speaker swap already to the speaker I wanted.
Yep.
And then all the caps were burned out on it. And I went, I can fix that.
Yeah, you can.
So I recapped it myself, did a lot of work on it, kind of clean it up. It is so quiet now that because I did the grid resistors and all that stuff. But that was a fun project for me. And at what was it like? All in shipped and taxes was $470.
Yeah,
I put
dude, you can't beat
$50 worth
that.
of parts back into it.
Yeah.
And now I have what's probably an $800, $900 amp. Champs keep
Yeah,
going
I
up
haven't
in
even checked
price.
to see what they're going for. They do. I saw someone selling. Oh, what was it? It was one of the small amps. It was. I don't. It may have been a Champ. It may have been a. No, it had to be a Champ. And I think they wanted 1,300, 1,350 for it.
A
I think it was a
Vibro
black
Champ from
panel,
that,
but still.
yeah, a Vibro Champ from that era will go for a good amount of money now. And
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what I'm gonna assume 77. Let's 77 Fender Champ. Let's see if we get any price points for one of these. That doesn't help.
yeah, so it was $350 before taxes and everything else. So I look back at that as one of my best grabs.
Yeah.
And again, it's an amp that I don't use a ton, but it's there and it's great, and I love just plugging into it. When you were talking about like, hey, you just need a place to put your pedal shelf, that was my Champ for a while. I would just plug something into the Champ just to mess around with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it's a great fun little amp.
yeah. I actually recently got the little adapters so I can
Oh yeah.
run this into the two notes and start having some fun there. Because again,
Dude, that's the way to do it right there.
there is two Champ two notes packs out there of the 2 different speakers that are out there. So I look forward to playing with that, as well as I got the pack for like the 2 Rock speaker,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
got
fun
that
to
one.
try other circuits into that and see how much of the 2 Rock sound is the speaker.
Yeah.
So got that. And then after long last, because we did an episode about me amp shopping with you and thinking
We
about should we
did.
do an amp and everything, you're like, dude, you got to get a Z-Rec. You got to get a Z-Rec. And I was like, you're crazy. Come on, that's too expensive. And then a deal popped up,
Mm-hmm.
and I
That's the
missed
way it
it.
always happens.
No, I missed it. Do you remember
Oh
me
yeah,
reaching out to the guy?
I remember.
It was a head and cab, and I offered just to buy the head, and he said, I just sold it today. And I went, oh, that sucks. And then it showed up listed again.
Yep.
He got it back and he relisted it because the deal fell through, and it was a head and cab that I now got for what I was going to try to get the head for. And so again, too good of a deal. And I think I've told the story of how I got it on my show. The day I had it picked up, it was in Cincinnati. I had a buddy go pick it up to verify that it was real and working.
Right.
I went in, I set up the deal. I then went in and got surgery done. I came out
Oh
of
yeah,
anesthesia
that's right.
and made the payment. It was a chaotic day for me. And then the amp came and I wasn't allowed to lift it. I wasn't allowed to lift 50 pounds for a
That's right.
week.
So it sat there for a while.
It sat there for a while before I plugged in and played it because I was miserable. No, I didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
So I did a Z-Rec. It is fantastic. I have, long story short, I have a connect. I might be meeting Dr. Z in the next month and
Oh,
going and
dude,
checking out their factory. I got a project out in Cleveland, and one of the local reps is a big guitar head. He knows right away. He saw the Z in my Zoom background while we were chatting. He's like, "Oh, when you come out here, I need to take you on a tour of all the Cleveland guitar stuff." And I was like, "Done." So I'm really looking forward to that. That will be a fun trip. And then the last one is one that showed up this week. And this was something I pre-ordered the minute it was announced because I said I was going to. It's the Paul Reed Smith MT100.
Yeah.
And as much as I said my reaction to the MT15 was kind of mid, I still absolutely adore Mark Tremonti, and his tone is insane. And this Channel 2 being a Dumble Ultraphonics that's actually accessible.
Yeah, dude. When I read that, because I knew that Tremonti was a Dumble player. He loves Dumble amps. I don't know. I know he has at least one. He may have a second or third. I don't know.
He still has because he has a couple.
Because when he was talking up and down or something like this that I watched a long time ago, I say a long time ago. I don't know, some point in the last 3 years. And he talked about that, and so when they talked, the rumor mill started to go about the MT100, and he basically confirmed it at one point. I was like, there's going to be something that's that Dumble style in this amp, because he talked about it way too much, how much he loved it for it not to work their way in there.
Well, because, I mean, really, the MT15 was kind of a play on the Archon circuit. And the Archon already had a 150 watt version. So it made sense to scale back up those tweaks to a 100 watt version because the cleans would be a lot better. And that is super true. The clean channel on this is so much better than my experience with the clean on the MT15. I will also say the MT15 is an amp that you can feel they cut budget on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's areas where you're kind of like, I can live with this. So like,
sure,
there's no reverb tank. If you really want those clean, if you want to play clean, you need a reverb tank. It's just kind of what it is.
I agree.
The jacks are kind of fine. It's the same knobs as this $400 amp that's on the MT15. Is the MT15 a $700 amp? I forgot what they are new.
I don't know what they go for now, but I can look.
Anyway, I will also say I was the first one to get. So I was in like the 4th tranche that Sweetwater did of the pre-orders. Yeah. So I did wait a little bit to get for it to ship, but it was also my Sweetwater rep has been texting me asking me how it is.
Oh, see, you didn't wait as long as I thought you were going to.
No, I mean, there's still a wait list. I think he said, my Sweetwater rep texted me today, and he's a little candid with me, so I don't know if I should actually share some of the stuff or not. But where do you say? what do you say? You were the first one I got to send personally. Stoked to hear how he sounds. Still 50 people waiting in line for one.
Wow.
Which in amps, a backlog of 50 is incredible.
That's a lot. That's a whole
I mean,
bunch.
it is Sweetwater, and this is scratching a lot of itches for me. Like,
Yeah.
I was debating, do I want to try an SLO? Do I want to do something else? And right now I'm pretty content with what I got. So I'm going to keep playing with what I got and just put it to
Yeah.
bed, but or try to keep my amp journey tame. I finally
Good
got the
luck.
Z-Rec into my live rig on my Quad Cortex. I'm probably going to do, and I've learned a bunch about, like, again, amp mic placement, that kind of stuff. So I'll probably be doing more captures. But
Mm-hmm.
if you follow me on the Quad Cortex cloud, I think I have 80 captures out there of different speaker
Wow.
combinations as well as effects settings on the Z-Rec that are out there. So you can go grab it. Or I also did them on my Kemper. So I don't think they're on the Kemper cloud yet, but I could add them. I just haven't. But if you're in Kemper Praise and Worship, they're there. I share those freely. So Effects Loop podcast on the Cortex Cloud. Go give them a look if you want to try them out. But it sounds fantastic. I'll probably be doing my Super Reverb again. I did a bunch of your Studio Sig.
Yep.
So I'm much more in a explore amps again kind of position than I am pedals. Amps are where my interest is right now, for sure.
Yeah. Next time I drive up to Chicago, I should bring a couple of other amps just so you can capture those just while you're at
I
it.
I'd love to. The reality is it takes so long to be that thorough with them
Yeah.
that I need more than 4 hours left alone with an amp. But
That makes sense.
we'll work out a deal where I ship it back to you or
So
something.
what's the best amp you bought this year then? What's your favorite of the lot?
I mean, the Z-Rec is in my live rig now. I love it. It does the AC15 thing better than my AC15 did.
I think
Um,
it does the AC30 thing better than an AC30 does
the presence
because
control is fantastic on it. It really is the
yeah,
magic in that thing.
it
And also, I will just say, Alnico Blue and Gold together is a really magical speaker combo. And that was
mhm.
the thing that really held me back. And how do I capture this thing? How do I get that blue and gold sound together? And that was a journey you got to hear me
Yeah.
talk about all the time.
That was the whole thing.
Uh, but at the same time, a greenback, a blue. I have some Silver Bell IRs that I was using as well. Speakers on a Vox makes so much difference, and I say Vox collectively here, the AC circuit, the AC circuit. The speakers matter so much, and
They
there's
yeah.
not a right. There's just a right for this. So
Yeah, my divided by 13 has dual blues, and I've been tinkering with the idea of what a gold in that cab with the other blue would sound like. Because I know I love the gold. I've had those before, in other amps. So,
you still got your two notes, right?
yep.
I'll send you something.
Okay, awesome. I'll check that out.
I'll send you my combined IR trick and let you kind of ABC it.
Yeah. For me, best amp I bought this year. I'm trying to think how many amps I got this year. I traded into one, two, and I bought one, two, three, four. I think it's four. I bought four, traded into three. So, but the biggest one, the
So,
biggest
just for the
deal.
record, this year you had more amps than I have had up until this year in my
Yeah,
36 years of life.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's why my list is over 60 amps I've ever owned. But the best
hmm
amp that I bought this year is the Two Rock Vintage. Consider still sort of making me consider selling my other two rocks because I don't need them. The Vintage Deluxe sounds that good. It's incredibly versatile. It's got the best tremolo I've ever heard in an amp.
Mm.
It's got my favorite kind of tremolo. That's a big deal too. It's got bias trim. That's my preferred tremolo. Um, I know a lot of people are on the harmonic trim train, and some people just really love optical trim. For me, it's bias trim. That's just it sounds ridiculously good. I've used it a bunch on gigs, both mic'd and unmic'd. Uh, I've never run out. There's some people saying, "Oh, it doesn't have enough clean headroom." I'm like, it's got plenty for me because it rides on that edge of breakup. It doesn't even really break up. It's just got that extra harmonic content. These people who say they need more headroom, I'm like, do you just sound sterile with no pedals on? Is that what you sound like? Because
There
that's what I
is
hear.
there there really is like clean people.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Like it's like they really want a JC 120.
Yeah, and that's not what I want. Like their idea of what clean is and what my idea of clean is are apparently are very, very different things. Because I'm running that thing pretty loud, and to me it's still clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using humbuckers, but there's other people saying it's not clean enough. I'm like, I can't help you, buddy. I can't fix this for you. But it's got the best reverb in an amp I've ever played. But that's like in multiple two rocks. Their reverb circuit is the big reverb circuit. The studio signature is good. The big box ones have something special in their reverb circuit.
Like a CRS or a Bloomfield or
Yeah,
those ones.
CRS,
Yeah.
traditional clean, any of those, Vintage Deluxe. There's just something in that. I don't know if it's just the bigger tank because I don't know how much changes between the studio signature and the others, but
Mm.
the big box reverb is incredible. That amp, if it came down to I had to only own one amplifier, I don't know that I'd keep the super reverb over that one. And
Woof. Then you're gonna have
yeah,
to rename your podcast.
I know we can't be the 35-watt podcast. That's too many words. That extra word's too many.
And you need that extra 5 watts of headroom. Come on.
I know, right? But it's true though. I don't know, like, and that's it overcoming the nostalgia I have and the connection I have with that super reverb. That I'm not sure that the super reverb would stand having to make that decision. Maybe it would. Maybe if it came down to it, it would. But right now, I can't tell you certain.
Okay, 2 questions for you.
All right,
1, how much of the magic is that 3x10?
I have the 115.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've asked you these questions before. I'm remembering this now. I'm like, have you plugged in the Vintage Deluxe into the Super's cab?
I have not, and I need to, but I just haven't dragged the super in here. Plus the Z matcher, all that stuff. I just haven't done it.
You almost need the Z matcher just for the extension cable.
I know. It's ridiculous, but I have plugged the Vintage Deluxe into a 2-rock 4x10 cabinet, so I have at least heard it through 10-inch speakers. I just love the 115 though. And anyone who thinks the 115 is too dark for guitar, you have not listened to enough 15-inch speakers.
It's also how you mic it.
Exactly. I find it almost too bright, and so it just is what it is.
So the interesting thing, just from a pure science standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
effectively a speaker is a piston moving air.
Right.
And the wavelength of air compared to the size of the piston determines how it reacts. And so there's no real directivity to low frequency sound compared to a small piston moving. Right. So it's a nice even dispersion of sound. As you get higher and higher in frequencies, that wavelength gets really small compared to the size of that piston moving. I realize I'm on camera and I shouldn't be making hand motions like that. If Diaz
okay, I'll mark explicit.
If Diaz could use a computer, he could really do some awful things with that. But it starts doing this thing that, for lack of a better term, looks like fingering is what we call it, where it starts creating lobes, and it starts loading. So there's high, hot, and low zones, and that's where a lot of that mic position really actually matters. It's because you go from the hot to low zone, and the bigger the speaker, the lower the frequency that fingering starts, and then more than likely, there's a reason why there's like that ice pick effect where there's a really directional thing with a lot of speaker
Yeah.
cabs for 12-inch speakers, because again, 12 inches is about I mean, a 1 foot wavelength is something like around 1,000 hertz, and guitars go to 4 or 5,000 is six
Yeah.
even. There's still content there, and so that's where those really nasal highs that only are in one direction kind of come from. Well, nasal is 2.5 to 4K, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's your science.
Well,
That's your acoustics engineer science corner here.
well, all that to say, I love the sound of a 15-inch speaker for guitar. There's lots of examples of Fender amps, some PV amps had 15-inch speakers.
Mhm.
They sound great, and I it it's it's expensive, y'all. I know this. It's very expensive. Uh, I budgeted to make sure I could afford to make this purchase. This was like a big deal because it's a very expensive amp, and I bought it. I bought it new. I didn't get some deal. I didn't trade into it. I didn't catch it at a low point in the market like I've done the other two rocks I have, where they were just like, this was a stupid good deal. Like, you can't pass it up.
Mhm.
I knew when they described this amp that I had to have it, and I put in the order immediately when they were available. So yeah, it's a spectacular amp.
I mean, I've made the joke that, like, I'm not opposed to spending 4K, 5K on an amp.
Mm-hmm.
And I that comes from a really privileged position, but I have a hard
100%.
time just saying I'm going to spend 4K at one time.
Yeah.
So when I'm like, hey, I just bought the MT100. Obviously, I bought that new, so 1850, right? That
Right.
no hidden agenda there. I put it on my Sweetwater card,
Yeah.
so I'm 0% financing for 36 months on that thing. So now I'm at what, $60 a month?
Yeah. I have no idea. I mean,
It's
whatever the
tangible.
math works out to. Yeah.
Yeah, you do books for a living. I do math.
Yeah, exactly. I avoid the maths. I can do it. I just will grumble about it the entire time. I'll For some math, I will grumble about having to relearn it, and then I'll grumble
Yeah,
about having to do it.
yeah.
I used to be good at math. I just don't enjoy it, so I don't do it. But I think
Okay.
next year is going to be interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit over on the Patreon because we've already gone long for this. But so we have a bunch of stuff to still talk about. And if I don't stop us at some point, we'll talk straight through. And this will be a 3-hour episode, and nobody will listen to it because I'm not Joe Rogan. Um, and yeah, neither here nor there. That's way outside the ballpark of this. So thanks for coming on, buddy, and thanks for talking about all this stuff and stuff we're going to keep talking about.
Yeah, and thank you for humbling me of realizing like how awful I've been about buying gear this year.
Awful, as in you have not bought enough. So listeners, thanks for listening, thanks for hanging out, thanks for watching. Hope you've been enjoying the episodes. I know this one was a little late. The holidays got wild, y'all, and things happen. I'm talking about making a little bit of a scheduling change in the next season. I'll talk about that in next week's episode. But rest assured, things are going to keep going. Thank you for your support over on patreon.com/40watt podcast. Thank you for everyone who's just stuck it out for almost 3 full years now. I'm so appreciative. Until next time, though, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and make some noise.